The Indian Express newspaper or news site, August 5th. Very recent, this year in
This
fact.
year? Okay.
This year, yeah. Headline, TV reporter apologises after accidentally using swear word during live bulletin. Okay. I know, I'm scandalised too.
Yeah, look, TV reporters are not meant to. Which was the word, though? Of course, we want to know.
Oh, we're going to get to that.
We're
going to get to so many words.
Was it poo?
Yes. So the story runs, a TV reporter in Australia, this is what I like to, this is an Indian newspaper reporting on an Australian phenomenon or event. A TV reporter in Australia was caught on camera using a swear word during a live broadcast, and the moment was widely shared on social media. Shocked.
Oh no.
I tell you.
Oh no.
Imagine. Lana Murphy, a 9 News Melbourne journalist, accidentally used the F word on air as she fumbled to get the name of a place right.
Fart. Is it fart?
Yes.
The other F word.
Finkelstein. She was talking about the spread of coronavirus in Victoria, and she stumbled mid-sentence, laughed, and was heard muttering, "Fuck my life," causing the camera crew to crack up.
But the fuck my life,
I mean,
like the my life there adds to that. That's nice.
Yeah, I love it. It's like, I got the name wrong. Fuck my life. So she tried to keep calm by laughing it off, fixing her hair, and in preparation for another take, she got ready. Then the camera quickly cut back to the studio where her anchor, Alicia Loxley, took over and didn't react to the incident. She just took straight over.
Of course, that's what you do.
Exactly. You just get on with it.
Don't draw attention to stuff. Yeah.
If you say shit fuck in front of a child, you don't all stop and go, "Ooh, you shouldn't have done that." You keep moving.
I'm sorry I said shit fuck.
I'm sorry. Then you shouldn't. You shouldn't say it, but I should. So she basically waited for that. So later on, Loxley, the anchor, apologized to viewers for the blunder.
Okay.
Quoting her, "We'd like to apologize for an earlier report which inadvertently included some bad language."
Sure.
As the segment from the afternoon bulletin started doing the rounds on social media, the reporter issued an apology. So the actual, I already forgot her name. I'm hopeless. Lana.
Yeah, it was Lana.
Lana issued an apology on Twitter and explained what went wrong after apparently many wondered why the gaffe wasn't edited out. So she basically is saying, look, some live cross segments are pre-recorded, so live cross in inverted commas, before they're broadcast live on the show, and a wrong version was selected for the bulletin. So on Twitter, the quote is, "Unfortunately, the wrong decision, brackets, clearly, of a pre-record made it to air, but thankfully I have a great boss and I'll be back on your screens tomorrow."
She wasn't fired for it. I think firing would be a little bit rough.
This is what I'm saying. The fact we even need to say it. And she added 2020 though, am I right?
Mm.
I mean, it's the fall of 2020.
Yeah.
So
bushfires, COVID, and someone swears on air. Like that's
but didn't get fired. And I mean, I have to say, and part of what inspired me to tell you this tale or a bunch of things related to it is the fact that you'd even have to say, luckily my boss is cool, so I didn't get fired. So then underneath the news report that I basically read most of, there was a string of screenshots of like 10, 15 tweets, and they're all supportive. They're all saying things like, "Don't worry, we're all human," or they're amused, like, "You made my day. You summed up how all of Melbourne feels right now."
Sure.
Which is fine. Again, so it's great. So it's an Australian story. It's made international news as such. So what I find interesting, though, is everyone was supportive and amused, at least as they presented it. But it's interesting it made it to international news and that people felt the need to so thoroughly apologize for it, for this one little slip up. So this is what it led me to think, well, what's with the love-hate relationship with swearing? Like, where do the words come from? Is it only crass and stupid people who swear? Could swearing actually be good for us? And also, is it even uniquely human?
Welcome to the Wholesome Show, the occasionally potty-mouthed podcast for people who sit up the back of the classroom, muttering under their breath.
And in which we ask the sweary and wrong questions, dear listeners, so you do not have to.
I am Will Arsehole Grant.
Yes, and I've heard that. I read that in the toilet.
Did you?
Or is it wrote that in the toilet? I can't remember which. I'm Dr. Roderick Griffin. Jesus, not that fucker. Lamberts?
Jesus, not that fucker. The Wholesome Show is brought to the Australian fucking National Centre for the public awareness of...
shitting science.
Of shitting science.
Although swearing doesn't sound good if you say ing. It's got to be shitting. Like you don't say, "Oh, fucking hell." You say,
No. There's all sorts to... I'm sure you'll cover this. There's all sorts to swearing. Sometimes you got to use the stuffy British swearing accent versus...
Like gracious me.
Oh, gracious me. Oh, fuck.
Lordy dordy.
Yeah, indeed. There's many aspects to swearing that are quite nice, so don't rule out my G's. Yes.
Oh boy, yeah. Boy, do I agree with that.
So yeah, the Australian National Centre for the Public Awareness of Science.
Yes, that's its normal version.
That's who brings this show to you.
With the standard apologies.
Indeed.
And look, I mean, as anyone who's ever heard us ever will know, particularly me, I confess, there will be some potty words in here. This time there may be a few more than usual. But they'll be done tastefully.
I might even put a warning for listeners. You're up to this point already, listener, so you know what's involved in this discussion right now. But Rod, I'm going to put a warning for us on the description of this podcast.
Wait till here. It doesn't be the Wholesome Show today with extra swears.
Yes.
But
10% more
tastefully
profane.
and scholarly. They'll be considered in a scholarly and scientific fashion. You can rely on me, and you know that.
All right, tell me about these tasteful swears then.
So I'm going to start with a bit of history because when you rummage around in a world like this, and I cannot believe I haven't done this before.
Please tell me you're going to do like 18th century swear words, because I assume they're all befungetist and lumvaktun.
I don't want to spoil it for you, but maybe later on I'm going to test your knowledge.
Okay, cool.
And look, you may enjoy it nearly as much as I enjoyed researching it. So I'm going to start, where, of course, most good stories start, with the Marquis de Sade.
Oh, yes, famed for being both a marquis and loving Sade.
Yes, he's a huge fan of Sade. He's also a terrible pervert.
Indeed.
And he, depending on your point of view, and to be fair, points of view come up a lot here. So there's a nice little piece called Translating the Marquis de Sade's Most Obscene Work. Mm-hmm. Most obscene, which is a big call for him, apparently. So the author is a fellow called Will McGoran, and he's a comparative literature lecturer over in the UK.
Okay, as in currently, this wasn't done 100 years ago.
No, he's a now guy.
Yep.
Going back to this piece. And he describes the Marquis de Sade's earliest and most extreme work of fiction, which is called 120 Days of Sodom.
Oh, yeah, I've heard, that's the famous one.
That's the famous one. And he describes it as, quote, a uniquely disturbing work and therefore uniquely challenging to translate.
Well,
and I mean, really, the moment I read that bit, I'm like, oh, and I'm in. I'm in a bubble of deliciousness. I may read the actual book.
The mind is boggling right now. I'm trying to grapple with, okay, what are the bits that are they purely French? Some sort of French version of doing things to each other that's like, okay, the English language does not have a term for that one. We've got to work something out here.
Yeah, like what how do we even handle it? Who knew the French had a word for stuff I can't even imagine Betty to describe?
Stuff that's not even on Urban Dictionary yet.
Yeah, well, maybe after this episode. Although, no, I can't take credit for any of them. I wish I could. So the gist of the story, very, very, very broad gist. It's the story of 4 libertines, a duke, a bishop, a judge, and a banker, like all good perverted tales.
How many of these are male and how many are female?
My assumption is all boys.
Okay.
And it's strong, and I think I'm quite confident in that assumption. We'll call them gentlemen with big air quotes.
And sure, of course, there are many roads up the sexual mountain. I just wanted to check if
they certainly go up all the sexual mountains.
If the Marquis de Sade was equal opportunity in terms of his his characters in his story. That's all I wanted to know.
I think he was more what you'd call multi-opportunity.
Does he pass the Bechdel test, really? And I'm guessing not really from this point.
I don't think he passes any test. So these 4, we'll call them gentlemen, lock themselves away in a castle with an entourage that includes 2 harems.
2 harems?
His harem, of one of teenage boys and one of teenage girls.
Okay, I can understand. Okay. I thought it was just like your Monday harem and your Tuesday harem, or if it was mornings,
the weekend and the weekday. No.
I get that you might. Can I just clarify here so I can cope with what's going here? When you say boys and girls, are you using boys to mean 18-year-olds and girls to mean 18-year-old women?
Of course I am. I am. It's fair to say, because I actually didn't do a deep research, but it just says teenage boys and girls.
All right. So
I choose to believe teenage equals 19.
Okay. Well, okay. And they're consenting harem people?
Not only consenting, demanding to be there. No doubt in my mind. Remember, it's just a story.
I know it's just a story. I just want to know who I can empathize with here. I'm scared of empathizing with the wrong person. And then you tell me, oh, he's a total monster.
Yeah, the trick is, empathize early and do it out loud. Definitely.
Oh, look, I have empathy. I empathize with characters. And then if you do it wrong to me, and then suddenly I'm empathizing with the terrible monster pedophile, then I'm not stoked. So
that just doesn't sound like something I'd try to do to you, man.
No, not at all.
I feel misrepresented. Anyway, so you got the four libertines, and they're locked away in a castle with an entourage of teenage girls and boys.
Cool.
Four aging prostitutes are appointed to be storytellers within this story.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Aging prostitutes. I suppose because they've got the depth of experience to really come up with some excellent stuff.
Yeah, they know the words, they know the terms, they've seen it all before. But yeah, and they're probably good storytellers. Cool.
So they each tell of 150 passions or perversions over the course of a month. That's what the prostitutes do, the aging prostitutes. The libertines then enact the passions they hear described, and as these become more violent, the narrative builds to a murderous climax.
Oh.
So that's the gist of the book. I'm not going to offend you anymore with talking about the book itself.
I'm not offended. I just.
Oh, you could be.
I'm just checking where to empathize. That's all.
So far, just keep your empathy free flowing. Just leave it ready to pounce. This is about the language, not the people. No one cares about people. Stories don't have people in them. So McMorran, the guy who wrote this little piece on the translation, he said he and his colleagues had to think very long and hard, I'm paraphrasing, how to translate old nasty French words into modern nasty English words.
Well, I mean, just on that term as well. I mean, the fact that I ask about boys and girls, like clearly the word boy or girl can mean someone who is able to provide consent. But also can mean someone who can't provide consent. And so,
to be fair, you can be above teenager and provide or not consent.
Indeed.
Everyone can suffer or not.
Indeed. But I assume that term it may have been used ambiguously originally. I doubt the Marquis de Sade put birth certificates in for all of his characters.
Yes. I'm the harem ID checker. I don't think it was a thought that ever crossed his pointy little brain.
I don't think he wasted time on that.
No, I doubt. So anyway, McMorran said they really had to think hard about this. How are they going to translate it? Because they felt pressure to keep as they put it, the fullest flavor and original intent of the Marquis.
Yeah.
Which you would. They're translating it. They're not trying to, they're not censoring it. They're translating it.
They're not making the Disney version.
They are not. Wow, what a movie that would be. Animated, you could do anything.
I think the Disney version would be, so there was a castle, the end.
Yes. And then everyone left. They had a glass of water and a cookie, and they went home, the ones who survived. But as he said, when we started translating, he and his colleague, I was instinctively toning the original down. I was avoiding words I found jarringly ugly, and I may not have
just for the listener here.
Entirely.
Just for the listener here, I'm begging to hear some of these jarringly uncomfortable words, and I know you're going to give them to me, but
I'll give you a couple. I mean, as he said in brackets, no dicks or cocks for me. Thank you very much. So he found those words difficult to handle, and he did attribute that potentially in part to him being an English gentleman.
Dicks and cocks.
Yes, he didn't like the idea of using words like dick or cock.
Oh.
However, that doesn't mean he didn't.
I thought we were going to go a little bit more ribald than dicks and cocks.
The episode is so young. He goes on to note how uncomfortable they became, and he puts it. And remember, this is a science podcast, man. This is the intellectual side of the swear words.
Yeah.
He said, look, translating obscenity into your own language takes a bit of getting used to. Fair enough. However familiar one becomes with another language, a trace of otherness always remains. So you can kind of keep it distant.
Yeah.
As he puts it, rude words in other languages never quite have the same force. So translating them into your own language brings the obscenity home in more ways than one. So for him, when you really got to work on it, you got to massage, you got to feel, you got to get fingers inside these words and work
There's a
them out.
Huge cultural history to your swear words in your own language that you hear, what's the Russian word for whatever, and you go, you can just say it. But I'm sure there is a whole culture and a whole embodied. It's like we do get international students that occasionally they'll say a swear word, but it doesn't have the same wrapping of context around it.
Yes, I feel so pooped off. You're like, no, you're not quite using that right. It's not entirely wrong, but you're not quite using it right. So their concern was basically they were worried that they would produce a text that was not as shocking and therefore not as appealing as the original.
Yeah, okay.
So as they put it, they had a duty to be just as rude and crude and revolting as the Marquis. And a watered-down version of his novel would be the worst possible outcome. So some of the words they wrestled with, and this is where it becomes tricky. So was a vit, a prick, a dick, or a cock? Vit. I assume that's
so. That's a French word.
French.
Yep. Could be prick, dick, cock.
Yeah, and it matters, prick, dick, or cock. I mean, they all mean allegedly the same, gnarly twisted oak, but they don't have the same connotation.
Indeed.
Another one were tétons, boobs, tits, or breasts.
Tétons surely is tits. Surely. I mean, that's breasts is a little bit more genteel than tits, and
Yes.
tetons.
Yeah.
Tetons is tits. It sounds the same.
Well, apparently, I'm not going to go into it today, but as I was reading about it, there was even the question of whether a woman was saying it or a man was saying it, and the emphasis on what it was actually trying to lead to.
If they're allowed to describe their own parts in certain ways that they would do.
Even if not even allowed, if it just made sense, you know, even without getting into why. So they're like, okay, are they boobs, tits, or breast? And then if you go into the nuances, it's like, well, who's saying it?
Yeah.
Are they powerful or not? Are they male or female? Blah, blah, blah.
That's so cool.
Was a derriere a behind, a backside, or indeed just a derriere?
I'd go with derriere for that one. That's
just so fancy.
It's very fancy. It's
derriere.
a fancy bottom. The Duke.
Was cull a bum or an ass?
Cull.
Cull, C-U-L, yeah. Cool?
Yeah.
Carl, but with a French accent. And they said that the term that gave us the most trouble by far was the verb sebranler, which I said with a nice German accent.
Sebranler?
Brandler.
Okay.
A slang term meaning to masturbate that is still commonly used by French speakers today. So the problem with that was there's no shortage of English equivalents of the word or the idea of masturbation.
Wank, flog, tug. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem they were saying. Look, so for the translators, they're like, we gotta get the word in there, we gotta give it the right feel. They said the most obvious English equivalent.
Gentleman or girl masturbation.
Yes.
And obviously that might make a difference.
Yes.
I don't know. Okay. Yeah.
To be fair, in the Marquis world, everyone gets to do the beat.
Yeah, no, in doubt. I'm just wondering if the words were gendered at that point.
They didn't even get into that. Words. They just got into the generic of it, which was saying, look, in English, as in England, the equivalent would be just, probably to wank.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, wanking, fair enough. But Americans would kind of find that a bit strange or a bit like it would stand out, which is not what you want if they're reading the translation of the novel.
Oh, so you have to do like multi-English version of the translation. So
well, no, they're trying to find one. That's the thing. So they're wrestling for one. So they said, okay, so you could say jerk off, but that's just so damned American.
Please tell me this was some sort of academic publisher committee meeting system where they're sitting around a table and they've got the PowerPoint up on the side. And
so what do you think?
Okay. Next one. We've solved that problem. Next one. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'd say wank. What do you think, Fotherington? I'm thinking jerk off. Have you thought of touch himself? I mean, they actually said they contemplated to pleasure oneself, but it seemed, as they put it, a little sex positive and a little too polite.
Yeah, yeah.
And they had said fapping.
Hang on, though. Marquis de Sade, really quite sex positive, though, wasn't he? Like, I mean, in one word to describe him, he was very keen on the sex. So,
but is that the same as doing sex positively?
Yeah, no. Okay.
Because let's not forget, the term sadism comes from his name.
Oh, indeed. He made it up.
Yeah,
he called it meism.
I really want you to suffer because it gets me off. Let's call it Marquis de Sadism.
Marquisism. I call it Marquisism. And all the other Marquis are like, what the fuck, man?
That's not fair. Call it baroning. That would be much better. So apparently also fapping wasn't right because it wasn't apparently big enough in the public consciousness or their own. So they weren't happy with fapping.
Yeah, far too modern.
So ultimately they made a decision. They decided on to frig.
Okay. So
frigging.
So frigging sounds to me like the term that might have been common in English at that sort of period. What are we talking? It's like 1750 or something?
Yeah.
Don't ask dates. Not a bloody history podcast, mate.
1740.
This is like 17.
After 1600, before today.
Yeah. No, okay. But theoretically,
I think I'd know that, wouldn't you?
Might have been a common sort of term in English then. So fat.
Yeah, and
fat's far too modern.
they kind of thought, and more to the point though, does it capture in English the quality, the deliciousness, the nuance, and the depth of the French word?
I've never used frig to describe wank before.
But
I get it.
And they do get into that too.
I get
they said that this is a difficulty. So they say it'll be unfamiliar to many readers because, so they did a little poll of their students, as you would. You're like, so before we start with the lecture on, Danish words for respect, I want to ask you what you think frig means. And most of the students said fuck.
Yeah, that's what I would have guessed, actually.
Me too. And I know it's sort of a semi-polite way for at least Australian English to go, oh, that really frigging pissed me off because it means you're not saying fucking. But it is obviously the substitute.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you bring in the science here, to frig works in a way that the alternatives don't don't. And I like this. This is them talking about it's compact, it's usable reflexively or non-reflexively. You can use it transitively or intransitively. All the functions of verbs are coming in here.
Way to fucking nerd it up. But I mean, they are nerds. That's great. That's great.
Yeah. And they say they hope, or they think at least, and they hope that its general unfamiliarity might work in its favor. So people have to sort of think and give it's a new category for them in a sense, which might be more appropriate to the translation.
And obviously it would be used in context, one is frigging oneself or something like that.
I frigged with the harem watching as the aging prostitute described to me how.
Indeed, there you go. And it's got an earthy quality as well.
Doesn't it?
It doesn't.
It sounds like it's like loam.
It doesn't sound like only the upper class people get to frig, but everyone gets to frig.
No. Well, I mean, if you're my age or older, you would know the Sex Pistols' famous song "Frigging in the Rigging."
Yeah, but I would have guessed that means fucking.
Yeah, I think it actually did mean beating off because the song goes on, frigging in the rigging, frigging in the rigging, frigging in the rigging, there is fuck all else to do.
And did you know, I did not know that was Sex Pistols, but I've heard it before. That's on this Dirty Ditties record that a friend of mine, like this is, I grew up in the 80s and LPs still existed, but we'd mostly moved to cassettes at that point. But his parents had this Dirty Ditties.
Dirty Ditties. Frigging in the rigging, there was fuck all else to do. It was about sailors. It was on the good ship
First
Venus.
mate's name was Morgan.
First
mate's name was Morgan, and boy, he's a grizzly gorgon. 3 times a day, he'd strum away upon his sexual organ. There you go.
Yeah, that's
remember it.
Captain of this lugger, he was a dirty bugger. He wasn't fit to shovel shit from one place to another. I mean, I can do it all, even with the Johnny Rotten accent, but I won't. So that's sort of a nice kickoff. So I thought, okay, let's delve deeper into the word fuck because that's come up a lot in this early part. So apparently the earliest mention in English for fuck in the sense of copulation, because it can mean many things, so fuck in the sense of copulating, is a Latin English sermon from 1500. A sermon.
A sermon. I get, first time it's written down does not mean the first time it was used, obviously. That's a sermon. And you fucking boys down the back, shut up.
Believe in fucking God, you idiots.
Oh, no, it was, you said it was about copulation. So
That's true. Believe in God doing fucking.
Or when Adam fucked Eve is what someone might be saying.
Well, the actual translated phrase means, or it translates as they, meaning the monks are not in heaven because they fuck the wives of Eli. There you go.
I know, right? My Sunday school was very brief. I
walked past it on a Sunday on the way to the beach.
I don't know what the wives of Eli means.
Neither do I. And look, I could have gone down so many rabbit holes just on the first report or study or piece I read, and I didn't. It wasn't easy. I've never been so delighted to research a topic because it just was so easy to read.
Oh, it's like it's if there's a Venn diagram of your brain, this covers your brain 100%.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm not doing a 12-part series, but I'm not. I'm just going to do this one episode so far. The monks are not in heaven because they fuck the wives of Eli. I don't know what it means either.
So
this
is Church of England. This was in English, Church of England sort of thing.
When did the Church of England started later than 1500? Didn't it? When was Henry the 100th?
But this is in an English sermon, so this is written.
Yeah.
Down. Well, there you go.
Yeah. But fuck also appears in Middle English names and places, but it usually meant to strike. So you'd have a name like Henry Fuckbeggar, which is recorded as a name in 1286. He most likely it was because he beat the beggars rather than shag the beggars.
I get it.
So
it's
fuck,
a
and
great
there are
name
so
for a
many
town,
other words
though.
that came up that way. It's hilarious. There's some names of streets and stuff that actually feature the word cunt in them, and what they really meant was it was a place where prostitutes and stuff hung out. And the words sometimes in these old streets, they sneak in if you pay attention. You go around and read some of the old English names that they've kept by accident.
Yeah.
There's some pretty dirty street names out there, mostly to do with what they used to be used for.
Well, I heard there was in London, and maybe you're going to tell me this, there was one called Grope Cunt Lane.
Yeah, and that was because it was basically there's a bunch of hookers lived there in the early days.
That's what you could do. You could grope cunt lane.
Yes,
I mean it's
become an American
very
president.
Literal. I mean, it's not. You don't want to put a euphemism on that tin. Just
maybe they did. Grope is actually the sanitized version.
Well, okay.
Yeah, well, you started them. You opened the door.
It does sound like an American president.
It really does. That's probably where he's going to move to. That's what they call his wing of the prison. That's a different podcast. So what about the word fuck today? So there's a great article I found called The F Word. And I love it. It starts with the world's authority on the F word is Lancaster University's Tony McHenry. The world's authority on the F word.
And that's great because I think being the world expert on the word fuck is a big call because a lot of people do use it.
Yeah. Well, what's expert mean in this context? I mean, that's the question, isn't it? Are you expert because you use it every second word?
Look, I think we know that expert means they know a fair bit about it, but it'd be lame if he didn't use it every second word as well.
Who doesn't?
Or he's going to be like, no, I'm above it now. I've transcended the word fuck because I know it so well. I'm done.
I just use frig now. So he says, of course, all swear words, they come from the aspects of human experience which invest our deepest emotions.
Eating.
But
where's the swear word for eating?
For eating?
Yeah, because there's like shit,
gorging, gagging,
shitting, and fuck, and cunt, and dick, and
William, this is not that kind of podcast.
I'm just saying that you, I get that he's saying it's the deep visceral parts of humanity that we put swear words on. Where's the swear word for eating?
That's a good point. Well, I suppose what he's really saying is that the use of them taps into our emotions or reflects them, not that all things we're emotional about turn into swear words.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
It goes one way, not the other, so to speak. Yeah. So he did a study of fuck. They call it the F word all the way through, which is a bit boring. But anyway, he did a study of the word fuck.
Published in the BBC or something.
Yeah, pretty much. And he based it on the British National Corpus, which is a bank of 100 million words of British English collected in the later part of the 20th century. So
as in like in sentence form, people using them? Or
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. It sounded like it was in clusters and chunks, etc. And he looked up fuck and 4 associated forms: fucked, fucks, fucking, and fucker or fuckers. So these are all the words he used as his search terms. And this is important, in research we have to define our terms. And as he said, look, the taboo meaning of fuck is not nearly as common as the word used as an emphatic intensifier. So the fuck as in the sexual act, fuck is far less commonly used that way in generic English.
We're about to fuck is far less common than
or how about a fuck, as opposed to that fucking
washing machine
just hit me. Washing machine, exactly. So like fucking marvelous, get in the fucking car, or fuck or give a fuck. None of those refer to the sex act, at least as far as I'm aware. As opposed to, would you like to give you a fuck?
I don't know why you had to go in like Dolph Lundgren accent, but this is your fantasy, not mine. So sure.
So I love. Here's one of the things I enjoyed. I am going to talk through a table just very briefly. He came up with 9 categories of meanings of fuck based on British data. 9 categories. You got the general expletive. So fuck.
Just check. This is the word fuck, not like fuckers and.
Yeah, pretty much fuck. Yeah, yep. I mean, you might get fucking in there as well. Yep. So yeah, the general expletive. Oh fuck. Or just fuck. Personal insult referring to a defined entity, you fuck or that fuck. Cursing expletive, fuck you, fuck me, fuck him, fuck it, etc. This is one of my favorites. Destination or usage. Fuck off.
It's not really a destination. Come on.
Where do you want me to go? Fuck. So that made me pretty happy. Literal usage denoting taboo referent, he fucked her. So that's the only one that, Emphatic intensifier, fucking marvelous, etc. Pronominal form, little fuck, fat as fuck.
Okay.
Idiomatic set phrase, fuck or give a fuck, thank fuck, 2 fucks given. So just a set phrase that has fuck in it. And then the classic other, metalinguistic or unclassifiable due to insufficient context. Just the use of the word fuck in places you couldn't put elsewhere.
And abso-fucking-lutely or something. That's emphatic, isn't it? Surely.
Well, yeah, it would be. That would be emphatic. And that's also what they call in linguistics an infix, not a prefix or a suffix, but an infix.
I get it. Well, I didn't know that word before, but now I know it. And sadly, can't think of many sentences to use it in.
No, it'll come to you later, as soon as we stop recording. So that's basically a bit of a flavor of fuck. And so, of course, we've got to ask ourselves then, comparatives. Who fucks more? Who swears more? What kinds of people swear more than others? And are there even differences, And so what I found stuff was on
you don't want me to guess now?
Oh, you can guess as much as you want. I'll give you the categories. Okay, class differences like lower or upper class, etc. Who swears more?
Oh, look,
Go on, say what you want to say. I know what you want to say.
Oh, look, no. Look, the stereotype
punch down, man.
The stereotype is that lower class people have more earthy language.
Earthy, that's the way to put it.
Yeah, they're of the earth, salt of the earth. Use the words of the earth.
They're real.
Yeah.
They're in touch.
Authentic, man.
Exactly. Well, McKerney, the expert on the F word, he said, look, the you'll hear fuck more often in working class people's speech than middle and upper, and it's more common in the speech of the young than the old. No shocks there. But
I guess we can't tell that. I wonder if it's cohort effect or as in, like young people now, are they going to turn into people that don't swear, or are they going to?
They probably are. It's so disappointing.
I don't know.
It's so conservative. Stop being conservative, youth. I don't want to be looked after by you if you're conservative. That's going to make my old age extremely boring. But you still got to look after me. So that was a generic from the word fuck in England. But a later study showed there were more, I suppose I'll say subtleties. I don't know if that's the right word in this subject matter. So words like bloody, bugger, and fuck are used approximately twice as often by lower class than the rest. Mm-hmm. But the upper middle class are the most common users, as he puts it, of the profane word for female genitalia that rhymes with Jeremy Hunt. Yes, cunt. So the upper class are more likely to use cunt.
That's a lot of words to avoid saying the word cunt in that sentence. But
and then he says cunt at the end. He says it anyway.
So upper class more likely to use the word cunt.
Yeah, so apparently, and I didn't dig into it because I had too much material, but there was some famous BBC, I think, radio journalist who may have either deliberately or regularly or accidentally used that word more than once. So he made a reference to this person, and I thought, no, I can't go down that rabbit hole now because I'll never come back.
Sure. No, I had never thought that particular swear words would have class differential. So like the Monopoly man, man is more likely to use the word cunt than fuck.
Or more likely than the pauper who lives on it, Angel Islington.
Yeah. So no, what's below Angel Islington? It's Old Kent Road.
Old Kent Road. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds a little bit anyway
close, isn't it?
Yeah. What could be going on there? But
we all know where Grape Cunt Lane is, near Old Kent Road.
There you go. Smoking his cigar, he'll use the word cunt, but the working class, they'll fuck.
But again, this is in England though, so I do wonder if perhaps it's different. Like in Australia, for example, in Ireland, etc., etc.
No. Once a study's been published, it generalizes to everywhere.
Right.
That's
true.
how it works.
And it locks the truth in. You're right. At that point,
that's what the world is.
That's how academia is. It's how science works. Okay, sex differences. This is messy. Oh, it's wonderful. You're going to be surprised to hear there may be some sexism involved in this as well, including in the descriptions and analyses of it.
It's almost like some of the words themselves have intense sexism in them. In different ways.
To read too much into it. I mean, you're just getting carried away now. Okay. Most things aren't sexist ever or racist, and we know this.
Really? Yeah. No.
Yeah. So McKerney again, the fuck expert, says fuck was more popular in men's speech than in women's.
Does he get that when people are saying, "Oh, you're the fuck expert," and they're like, "Well, I've had this problem with my husband. He's trying to do this thing," and he's like, "No, I just study the word."
Madam, talk to me about your vernacular, and then maybe I can help you at least orally. No, not that way. So he's saying men say fuck more than women, but when you look at a broader range of swear words, then he said there was no disparity between how often men and women swear. Not whether, just how often the word didn't come. What specifics of the word didn't matter. But then there are other studies that have suggested women do swear less than men, and when they do, they use milder swear words. Now, this is from a summary of studies. So, again, if I'd gone down this rabbit hole, there'd be a lot to read here, like where, when, how, who, blah,
and
blah, blah.
I think the when's got to matter enormously. I mean, not that it will be necessarily accurate, but, a study done in 1950 versus a study done now. Language.
I'm going to refer to something from the 1600s to kind of give you a bit of a flavour of that.
Okay, yep.
In just a ticky poo. The studies that suggest women swear less and they use milder swear words. Now, these kinds of studies, I'm going to emphasize here for our listeners, I'm referring to these kinds of studies. The results seem to be more focused on, they suggest that they're focusing on sex-based swear words, though, in particular, and they speculate thusly. Since many swear words refer to sex and sexuality, it has been suggested that women use these words less than men, because if they use words that refer to sex casually, it implies they think of the act of sex in a casual manner.
Okay.
I mean, like, okay. A, so what if they do? And B, what? If this is so, though, I'm working with these studies, and I'm quoting now, the asymmetry of expectation for men and women for the act of having sex has spread to our use of language and the vocab we have available. AKA, if men like rooting and talking about it more, then they're allowed to talk about that more. They offer as the clearest example that there is no male equivalent for the word slut.
Okay.
And that is true.
Well,
like
look-
I can't think of one.
Yeah, but that doesn't say anything about women's use of swearing. That just shows that language is intensely gendered, and the processes of sexism in society have used language to castigate certain people here.
Oh yeah, and we've been working on it for years. Like we're really perfecting this shit. Like let's be fair.
No doubt. Like it's 3,000 years of sexism here. We've been working hard to castigate them sluts, eh?
It might be wrong, but at least we haven't been lazy about it.
At least we made up some words.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know more about these studies, because I really do wonder, how we're collecting the data is going to make it a massive point here. People using them in all sorts of different contexts. Who's likely to use it out on the street, in a business meeting, with their friends, all sorts of different places. Which words they choose, which words in different sorts of contexts. There's so many shenanigans.
And
on
where?
this.
I mean, and I don't even just mean what country. I mean even what city, what industry, what suburb could make a difference. It's hugely variant.
Absolutely.
But if we want to take this whole the sexism thing, or rather, the gendered or sexual differences, and it's difficult to know which word to use here. I think really we're talking a world where there are only boys and girls, and you were what you were born, according to the stuff between your thighs. So historians of English say that women in the past were equally praised for their command of exceedingly expressive insults and swearing.
Excellent. I'm glad that they're praised, because you know what? Use words that have been made up by humans, and you're a better person.
Yeah. And I have to say, I mean, one of the main reasons I first thought my wife was the bomb was I heard the way she could swear in a social situation. I was like, damn, you are so good at it. It made me really happy.
You're so good.
Because we'll go on to why that makes her the best person ever later. Not specifically her, but people like her. So apparently women were praised, etc., until a chap called Richard Alstree.
Are you... Okay.
He published a book called The Lady's Calling in 1673.
Wow. All right. Okay. I'm guessing where you're going here. I'm not shocked. Not shocked in the sense of that there was someone that made the world worse for women.
Imagine that.
But
it was a dude, and probably a posh dude.
I am shocked that we can trace it. So tell me more.
Well, look, I'm not the expert of the F word or anything else, but this is what I have discovered in my rummagings. So in this book, he said that women who swear are acting in a way that is biologically incompatible with being a woman. And as a result, will begin to take on masculine characteristics like growing facial hair or becoming infertile. So apparently being infertile is masculine.
Well, indeed. Okay, that's weird. The growing facial hair. You swear a lot, you'll grow a beard. Like... You know what? Seriously,
if that was true, I would have the most mighty of beards, and I do not.
But I'm just trying to imagine. You're a young woman of that time. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna go out on the street and say the word "fuck" 1,000 times and see if I grow a natty moustache.
Exactly. Look at these handlebars.
Come on, you dingus.
Look at here's the quote of his that really I think is fantastic. He wrote. There is no sound more odious to the ears of God than an oath in the mouth of a woman.
Oh, God.
Thanks, Richard, or Dick, as we prefer to call him.
I just got to say, in this Envisionary, how timid God is. That he is that someone's saying a word. I get that in this vision, God had commandments. Don't murder. I get that God would be offended and like, oh, you went and killed one of my... I made them. What did you do that for? What did you do? But someone saying a word... Oh,
well, there's 10 commandments, and then there's the extra 400 that are only for women.
Yeah, indeed.
Men have to vaguely adhere to some of the 10. So today, running with this same issue between the men's and the women's... So attitude surveys show that both men and women tend to judge women's swearing more harshly.
Both men and women.
With serious implications. And some of these are intriguing to me. And again, there are so many spin-off episodes from this. When women with breast cancer or arthritis swear as a result of their condition, they're much more likely to lose friends, particularly female friends.
What?
I know. I'd love to dig into that further.
What? Wow. There's so much to dig into there, but I just imagine how are you doing the study where you go, we're going to look at the friendship circles of breast cancer patients. But one of the variables I want to test is how much they swear. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And it seems to be whether they swear about it. Yeah, as a result of their condition.
So if they say,
Whereas men who swear about conditions like testicular cancer tend to bond more closely with other men using the same vocab. So boys go, fuck this testicular cancer, dudes go, mate.
look, I'm
The
not
lady
against that.
says, fuck this breast cancer, and allegedly the women say, well, up yours, Gwyneth, and we're out of here. I think I'm generalizing a little.
But okay, look, I got no problem with the men bonding. That's nice.
beautiful.
Bonding is a good thing.
Beautiful.
But Jesus Christ.
Oh, it's outrageous. And I mean, they say the idea that swearing is a legitimate means of expressing a negative emotion is much more, as they put it, circumscribed for women.
So I wonder here, is it the words or is it the emotion? Like, is it the stance toward the emotion that you're not allowed to express?
Probably a bit of both. Like, women are too emotional, but then they shouldn't express emotions. It's like, which the fuck is it? So that's just like basically the gajillionth example of women being treated more harshly than men for doing exactly what men do. I think it's the gajillionth. I think that's what we're up to. So moving away from the sexes, country differences. Which country uses the word fuck most?
Australia?
Have a crack.
Australia.
Nah. Are we top three?
Geez, I don't know. Look, I put it obviously no.
No.
All right, so we're going here with English-speaking countries here, obviously.
English-speaking countries.
Because other countries have their own swear words.
Yeah, they're allowed.
America?
Yeah, America. According to there's a website called Glowbe Corpus, GLOWBE Corpus. It's a random sample of English blogs, online newspapers, magazines, company websites across 20 countries.
Company websites.
It's all been collated
I'm
from
applauding the company here that steps up and says, we're putting the word fuck out there in our company website.
How good's that? No shitheads. That's our hiring policy. No shitheads. So a researcher dug into that and basically said, in terms of using the word fuck and all its variants, US came number one.
Okay.
UK 2, and third, fuckers beat us at everything,
New
the
Zealand.
Kiwis.
Yeah, there you go. Good on them.
Yeah.
Good on them.
Yeah.
Are we non-swearers or non-fuck users? Wow.
Well, we're worse than third. I couldn't find fourth, fifth, and sixth, and maybe they stopped.
Well, there's only half a dozen English-speaking
countries in the world, yes, except for all the others.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a bit of fun.
What about other words? Do you have other words? Because I
don't.
This is the stereotype that I hold, is that Americans might come first in using fuck, but they're very timid about the word cunt, and that the English can't stop saying it. Like
it's true. It's true. English and Irish use it very naturally, and it doesn't sound as bad because
it's like
normal.
It's a gap between words. Like they just,
and Australia seems to be somewhere in the middle, depending on which bit you're in.
Yeah.
I think it's a fabulous word. I use the C-bomb a lot, but only classily. You probably didn't know that about me.
No, indeed. I think you know what it is. Swearing is an amazing way of manipulating the context around you.
Oh boy, we're going to talk about that.
Well, indeed. It's almost like it's about context, but also about tweaking that context a little bit.
It really is. And before that, though, I alluded to this, or rather asked this question in the opener. Not only people swear, not only humans.
Please. So I have been sitting here. I've been sitting here since your opening. I was like, okay. Unless you're going to tell me that every bark of a dog is the word fuck. Like it's like fuck.
Yeah.
Like okay, yeah, maybe.
Fuck, fight, fuck, sleep, fuck. Yeah. No. Chimps.
Chimps.
So, you would have heard of this. I mean, back in the late 60s, early 70s, there was a project using a female chimpanzee called Washo. She was taught sign language. She was the first, I believe, for this to happen.
Yes, no. I haven't heard the details of the study, but I've heard enough of chimps and sign language and great apes as well, maybe.
Yeah, others as well. Gorillas, I think, do it. But this is particularly on chimps. And I remember seeing this in a National Geographic magazine when I was knee-high to a grasshopper and just going, wow.
Yeah, no, definitely. When I first saw that kind of study where, hang on, they're communicating in actual words to wow, we're touching the void here.
I look, and on that line, I mean, my first thought as a almost adult, probably early mid teenager, was ask them or try and find out if they have some concept of the divine or God, and then I'll start to listen to you priests. But I'm not aware of anything like that happening. So anyway, there was that.
So hang on, slow down. if chimps,
apes and
if
other
chimps
things start
believe
saying
in
there's God and stuff, I'll be like, oh,
why?
that's got to be real.
Why God's got to be real? Because
If a monkey says so. Isn't that what Darwin said?
Look, he might have done. I don't know that he did, but Jesus, I
Between the lines.
I am not down with that one. If a monkey, like if a supercomputer that is 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times as intelligent as us says, oh, actually, I've checked, there is a God out there. Then I'd be happy. But I'm not taking my God advice for something that, lovely as they are, may not have as much of a brain as we do.
God, you're so like neuro privileged.
I know I am. But this is
techno wanker. Fucking screw you. Anyway, she learned sign language well, and later in the project, she became a matriarch to 3 younger chimps. So they came on in, and now it turns out like wild chimps are pretty keen on using their shit as communication devices. Like, this is my territory. You shut me off.
Their feces, yes.
Their poo poo.
Yeah,
they'll throw it around liberally. I live here, or you've made me mad. I'm going to crap in my hand and chuck it at you. Mm-hmm. So apparently, if you wanted to teach them sign language, one of the first things you do as part of the training is potty train them.
Oh, no. I thought you were going to say the trainer has to use...
Okay, it's a great job. There's this one little hurdle.
Look, okay.
How are you with crapping in your own
Well, I was
hand?
thinking, this is PhD student work. This is, okay, so you're going to do a PhD student on the Great Ape Sign Language. What you got to do first on the first day? Okay, you're going to need to... Okay, look, it's got to be your own. Can't get someone else's. Yeah. And you got to show the chimps that it's your own.
Right, look, I'm going to need you to go ahead and bog in your hand. Excuse me, what? And here's your library card.
Look, we know, and we've never actually done this episode, but I'm surprised that neither of us have chosen it. But we know there are some things that researchers have had to do in the name of science that may be bordering on crapping in your hand to show to the chimpanzee. So, look,
I'm okay with that.
I was
if
just
it's
hoping.
For science, I'm okay with it. I'm science positive, particularly if it involves other people crapping in their hands. It reminds me of a different story, but it's not relevant to this one because it's about urine. So yeah, you got to potty train them. I reckon it's a good start to helping with their language training, etc. So it means very quickly they end up with a taboo around excrement, just like humans.
Oh,
do.
Chimpanzees. Okay.
Yeah, cool. yeah. Because it's been it's taught that you shouldn't do it here, and it's bad in certain circumstances.
Other species. Lots of species would have some sort of at least biological taboo around excrement, like you shit away from where you sleep.
Sure. And then they go and eat it. You've got a dog now.
She hasn't.
You've not experienced that yet?
Yeah, she hasn't eaten it in front. Well, look, I've seen other things that,
Oh, yeah. They're recyclers of every kind of stomach content. They're good that way. So anyway, chimps end up with this sort of taboo, as you'd expect, because the way it's been treated and socialized, poo, bad, very specific, not something we play with, etc. So you got the sign for dirty, which is basically bringing your knuckles up to the underside of your chin and I think moving them around. And what happened spontaneously, apparently, the scientists, no one taught them this, they started to use the sign for dirty in the same way we use swear words like shit. So by the time they brought in the youngest chimp, the humans stopped teaching the chimps, and they wanted to see if the chimps would teach each other sign language.
Cool. This excites
me. It's wild, isn't it?
This excites me.
Oh, yeah, it's fucking fantastic stuff. So not only did they teach the new guys sign language, as soon as they'd internalized the toilet taboo with the sign of dirty as something shameful and bad, they started to use it to express anger. So like if Washo was really angry with the other chimps or the other chimps were angry with her, they'd smack their knuckles to the underside of their chins and it would cause their teeth to clack together, emphasize it.
That's shit.
And apparently they would even sign things like they'd kind of do the shit and then the name. So Dirty Roger, Dirty Monkey when they're angry with the
trainer. That's so cool.
I know.
That's I'm so happy with that.
It's absolutely wild. So it seems like they, as much as we can tell, they seem to have internalized taboos as being something you use for expressing extreme emotions.
And the sign language here is just a way for us to interpret it. And they probably had forms of communication prior to that they would have been doing the same sort of thing.
I imagine very much so. I can't imagine you get taught a language when the whole concept of language is brand new to you.
Exactly. Wow, that's so cool.
It's wild. Look, I mean, I've also, over the years, I've heard all kinds of poo-pooing of the Washo experiment, whether she actually learnt language or not, whether they're using it as a monkey see, monkey do, blah, 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 blah. That's a whole nother episode or 7. But
are we really here to critique?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Let's take that aside for a moment. The correlation, at least, is pretty damn strong.
Yeah.
So it turns out humans aren't the only creatures who swear. I think that's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah. So it turns out also, I mean, swearing is often, especially if you're in certain places or have been brought up in a certain age, swearing's a very negative thing to do. You shouldn't do it.
Indeed.
It's naughty. But there are plenty of positives. And this is where I might even refer to a bit of science.
Well, so it's what this podcast is.
Ish. Science adjacent. Science approximate.
And friends. Science and friends.
Science and friends. The Science and Friends podcast. So swearing is a common thing to do when you're in pain, as we all know.
Never, no.
Bang your thumb with a hammer, bump your head, whatever, and you say poo-poo, bum,
bang
wee,
your
wee.
thumb and you repress.
Yes, you just lock it down. And so for years, a lot of pain specialists thought that swearing didn't help. And in fact, they would speculate that it had a catastrophizing effect. So that it meant people exaggerated and overstated the horror of the pain and kept it going.
Okay.
So that was the hypothesis for quite a long time. But then 2009-ish, some psych researchers in the UK wanted to test how swearing affects the experience of pain.
Mm-hmm.
So their assumption was it was going to be maladaptive. So it was going to be that it would make pain feel worse. So they got...
Why is that the assumption? Why is that?
Because that's what was the received wisdom at the time.
Okay, fair enough.
It's like, they did a lit review and the lit review gave them that.
It's almost like lit reviews are shit.
I know. Well, yeah.
Find out what other idiots have thought before.
Morons. Frigging morons. So it's a psych research study, so they got 67 undergrads. They got them to come up with a list of words, including swear words, that they might use if they hit their thumb with a hammer. So what are the swear words? What words might you use? Blah, 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 blah. Then they'd say to them, okay, come up with a list of neutral words to describe things like a chair. So, wooden, chairish, and so forth. So then to induce pain, which happens in a lot of research about pain, they had to submerge a hand in ice water for as long as they could. It's a really common pain stimulus in research, ice, freezing cold water.
Okay.
And then they were told to either repeat words from the swear word list or the neutral word list.
Chair.
Like,
wooden.
Yeah, wooden. Elbow.
Comfortable.
Face. Fuck, shit, cunt, bugaboo. So that's the two groups.
Bugaboo.
Yep. Boobs. Sorry. Oopsie. Boobs aren't a swear word, though. Are they? Old boobs? Maybe they are.
I don't know.
So participants who repeated the swear word were, on average, able to keep their hands submerged for almost half as long again, 50% longer than people who used a neutral word. And I gather this has been repeated. This is not one of those psych studies that only happened once and everyone went, oh, no, it seemed to work then. It also meant the participants felt like the pain wasn't as strong as well. The people who were swearing rated the pain as less intense.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool. And it's also, apparently, it was associated, swearing is accompanied by an increase in heart rate in general, apparently. So
I often think if I ever do, bang my thumb with a hammer or something like that, I hold it back. I hold the swear words back for when it's really bad. Like if it's a moderate pain, you go, and then you can, and then you go, but I know there's swear words up there. If it really hurts, oh fuck! Like
you got to keep something in the chamber.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the eyebrows. You got to.
You don't want to go off early. But yeah, so the suggestion that swearing as well as pain, but swearing increases heart rate and may trigger fight or flight, so you become better at somehow, defending yourself against pain. Apparently, it can increase strength. So a sports exercise study, if you let out some of the swear words while you're trying to do like vice grips and stuff, they get a harder grip strength.
I got to say, if I'm seeing how much I can deadlift or something like that, or if it's
when you're doing the 300-pound bench press.
Yeah. But if I've got to say a word associated with a chair, I don't feel like I'm going to. What a
mid-century Danish just doesn't work.
Eames chair. Yeah,
ergonomically sound office wear. No, it doesn't work.
Yeah, it really doesn't. It really doesn't. Whereas, okay, something that is more earthy and your mouth is wrapped around it already. Like that feels instant.
Look, I think it's also to do with the actual shape of it, and I didn't get into this because that's another thing about how swear words,
as in the mouth shape,
sound similar. Yeah, the fact that it's an ejective, you're like,
yeah,
like going, oh, it doesn't really eject energy. Whereas you go, fuck, you're really putting out.
Yeah.
It's just like, a lot of those hard martial arts, you shout, you kick.
Well, just on the word fuck, as you said it there, such a classic push of air out of your lungs.
Exactly, yeah.
That mid-century modern does not quite do for.
It's Rockwell, or what was that idiot? Burley Griffin. So it also can enhance bonding and trust building. Swearing, that is, not weightlifting or architecture.
That probably can too.
So people use naughty words to, promote intimacy, like, sex talk, put it in my ear, etc. Group
Indeed.
solidarity, like in chat rooms and so forth, or in the boardroom, meeting rooms and so forth.
Where once you've broken that taboo, then we share that taboo together.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yep. And even they talk about brand community. So apparently Tumblr has a long catalog of fuck yeah sites that are fuck
yeah.
yeah. And it's gotten to the point where
Like
there's a
fuck
site
yeah
that's
pizza,
the fuck
fuck
yeah
yeah.
of fuck yes.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. And if you're talking about related to that bonding, it's who you swear at or with counts as well. So there's a great piece by, and her name is relevant, Dr. Emily Nordman, who's a UK psych academic, and she was saying, obviously, and we know this, swearing it's more offensive if the gap in status is wider between speaker and listener. So if you turn around and swear at the vice chancellor, although we both kind of have swore with them, that's a bit more wacky than if you just swear to your colleague or at your colleague. So if you say, fuck you, vice chancellor, as opposed to fuck you, Rod, there's more implication.
There's a big difference between fuck you and wow, that's fucking great. That huge. I mean,
that's definitely swear at, not swear near or with.
Okay.
But swear at. Or kind of address them with a sweary word. And she said, look.
This is just something where this is so qualitative. Like it's so qualitative. Like the millions and millions of nuances between, the tonal difference between how you say fuck you can mean so many different things, both context and the way it comes out of your mouth. It's where qualitative research dives all the way down to the end.
I love it. My first real thinking about that was that Billy Connolly years ago was talking about how you can and can't use swear words. And he said, one thing you never hear is fuck off, he hinted. And words like this, it just doesn't work that way. I thought, that's great. I can't remember the full context, but that was enough.
Yeah.
Fuck off, he hinted. And so this Dr. Nordman, she was saying, look, you can use the swearing and at different ranks for positive effect as well. So you can promote social cohesion, particularly if the swearer doesn't believe the difference in status is to be huge. And so she said, for example, my line manager has yet to address me as Dr. fucking Nordman, but if it ever happens, I've decided to take it as a sign that I'm on the right track. And it's kind of true. If a senior person goes, come on, you big fuckhead.
Oh, yeah.
Tonally, of course, counts. You're kind of like, we're in. We're bonding. If they say fuck you fuck, that's a little different.
I'll write to our vice chancellor boss and say, please, can you call me a cunt pretty soon in public?
Yeah, would you please? I want to feel like I'm a success. So yeah, it's that whole sort of swearing's a bit risky. So if you're sharing the risk, you're bonding a little bit more strongly.
Yeah, totally.
And I love this. This I didn't get to dig into it, but there's some quite great research coming out of Australia and New Zealand that says jocular abuse, particularly swearing among friends, is a strong signal of the degree of trust that those friends share. And we know this, and there's studies done that look at the fact that if you get your swear words right, it can be really bonding and positive. If you fuck it up though, that's a problem. But they also go on saying that if you manage to swear at someone and get it the right way and pitch it just right, it's demonstrating a sophisticated theory of mind about the person you're talking with.
Yes,
so you've recognized what level to hit, and it demonstrates a deep understanding of that individual. And I think, it's an interesting...
Particularly the first person to do it in that group, to go, okay, I'm understanding where you're at. I'm going to step in and I'll be the person to swear. Yeah, that's awesome.
Useful persuasion, a study in 2012 said swearing can enhance the effectiveness and persuasiveness of an argument. I didn't get into the detail because there were too many studies.
Your Honour.
Also,
Your Honour.
Listen, shithead. This fuck over here is fine. Cunt didn't do it. They also talk about, there's a lot of it. I didn't stick on this one, but dotted throughout all these stories was this notion that at least if you're swearing, you're provoking an emotional reaction without resorting to violence. And I'm like, are you swearing 99.99% of the time? In no way am I using that as a replacement for violence.
Violence is a long way off, and there are other ways to provoke an emotional reaction without you can an emotional reaction you can do in one way, and swearing and they're all very different things. So anyway.
I would have thought. It can also apparently reveal integrity and truthfulness, and I've always stood by that. The study that surveyed how often participants were, sweary bears. Then they did a series of tests to determine how truthful an individual tends to be. Classic psych inventory stuff. And they found a strong positive correlation between profanity and honesty.
So
swearing was
people who swear more are likely to be more honest.
That's what it suggests.
Okay.
Swearing associated with less deception on an interpersonal level and higher levels of overall integrity. So people who swear a lot lie less and have higher integrity, and I've always fucking said so. I agree with that. It's just interesting, all these connections. And what I think is really important is the fact that the old school attitude that swearing is evil and naughty and wrong is being so thoroughly hammered by all kinds of research. And so one of the classics, I'll close before we get to quiz you on how good you are.
Okay.
One of the classics is you tend to be in one school or the other. Swearing is what dumb people do, or swearing is a mark of intelligence. And I've heard these stories apocryphally and anecdotally spread around pubs and chatted over Twitter and blah, blah, blah for years now, actually. So the people who don't like swearing often quote it. They say basically swearing means you don't have a big vocabulary, you're lower class, you're a bit dumb.
Well, I've seen a version of that argument. Lazy. I've seen a version of that argument written by someone who's really smart. And so...
Because they swear?
No, she's obviously happy with swearing. So this was Ursula Le Guin, and she's written a lot of awesome stuff. And she said, look, there's a lot of modern writing where they just use the word fuck, and it's just like, surely there are some more words you can use. And I don't think it was the full, you use fuck, therefore you're dumb, but it was more like, come on.
Try harder.
Try harder. Fuck is a good word, but there are many other good words as well.
Well, that actually is a good summary of what seems to be the balance of the research on this. So you've got people saying there was a spate of studies, or at least a couple or one or two that were overly quoted, that came out saying people who swear have bigger vocabs and are smarter than people who don't.
Cool.
But it turns out that's not quite a reasonable representation of the study. What they did was they'd say to people, okay, name as many words as you can that start with the letter S in 1 minute.
Yeah.
So, they'd say, snatch, smelly, snuck, sniffloodle.
Snail, slop and schnadel.
Slop and schnalger. You get 2 points for that. It also tended that people who'd get higher on that could also name a lot more swear words in 1 minute as well. So basically, if you're creative with your swearing, it probably means you're just generally verbally quite fluent anyway.
Yeah, cool. Yep.
So it's not how often you swear, but the creativity and depth of swearing that might be a better indicator of your.
So it's about having more
fluency.
Diversity of swear words.
Yeah. And now from our author again, Dr. fucking Nordman, she said, this quote, I can't do it justice without reading it straight out. So she said, just to give you an example of what this means. This is in the conversation. God bless them. So if you're a fucking person who fucking says the fucking word fuck between every fucking word, your vocabulary is probably quite limited because you're relying on the same word over and over.
Sure.
But if you're the type of person who variably refers to someone they don't like as a cock munch or a piss ass twat wank, your general verbal fluency is probably good, even though you really are quite rude.
Piss ass twat wank. Like, yes. Yeah.
The other one that makes me happy, I see it on Twitter irregularly and I always forget to use it, is cockwomble. I don't know why, but that cracks me up. It's freaking cockwomble.
It's the Wimbles of Wombledon, and it's like, where do we go with that?
But you and I are obviously supporters of the conversation from the very beginning, etc. And I just love that they're prepared to do it. And funnily enough, a lot of the articles I was reading were from the conversation for this one, more than usual. And one of them, for some bizarre reason, has warning this article contains swear words. None of the others do. Just one, for some reason, has a naughty word warning.
This is the thing that's always got me, and this is my boundary of whether I will read a newspaper or a news site or not. If there's probably others as well, but if they're they're quoting a politician swears or someone swears or something like that as part of the story, whatever, and they do like F star, and I'm like,
come on.
Okay. Who is your audience here? Are they literally 4-year-olds who you might still be saying, okay, don't use that word because we're still trying to teach you some other words yet? Come on. It shits me so much that they infantilize an audience so much.
My standard response, if I'm feeling feisty, is to write back and say, I don't actually know how to pronounce F star. Like, how do you say that? I don't know how to read that. I think you've made a typo.
It's so infantilizing. And
it's ridiculous.
And to lump normal human adults who have used that word and can read it and not be troubled with these infants who will be deeply traumatized if they see the word fuck written in a newspaper.
But F star K is okay because you haven't actually spelt it all.
You haven't actually seen it. Yeah, that word hasn't gone into your brain, so God is still safe inside. Oh, screw that. Oh, it makes me so mad. It's just wild.
It's pointless. Yeah, it's pointless, weird. It's one of the weirdest kinds of virtue signaling I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's funny.
And I'll slouch by that.
There you go. That's a nice right-wing virtue signaling.
Isn't it? We did not use the word. Yeah, you did.
You kind of did. What else could it be?
Anyone who can read knows what that meant. So why bother? So I have to say I was amused by this because there's apparently jobs in swearing. At least there's one. A guy called Ian Martin, who was born in 1953. He's an English comedy writer, and he was actually taken on board as a swearing consultant for 2 different TV series.
Okay, please.
The Thick of It in the UK.
Oh, no,
and Veep.
I was going to guess those two. Wow, that's a claim. That you put that on your gravestone level thing.
Don't you?
Swearing
what else do you
consultant.
do? Nothing. I just did that.
Who cares?
And if you haven't, I mean, people listening at home or in the car or on your run or whatever it is you're doing, if you want some of the most blistering and outrageous, like jaw-droppingly bad insults and swear rants, I don't know the thick of it yet, but I will. Veep is hilarious.
I'm the other way around.
Okay,
I know the thick of it quite well.
I'd best listen to that or watch that today then.
But I haven't watched a lot of Veep, so it's on my list now. It's on my list.
Like I have a very high threshold for being shocked or surprised, and Veep having like smashed through every series in a very short time just had me like my eyes rolling back and going, I'd never even thought of anything that excellent. The level of insult and swearing is absolutely gold-plated.
They had the world's only swearing consultant on there.
I know. And as soon as I read that, I thought, maybe there's room for number 2.
Because we try harder.
It's true though. My God, when someone often, when people say, "What would your dream job be?" I'm like, I'm not really sure. Now I know.
I thought I did think that you would be a 15-year-old boy consultant.
These are not dissimilar.
To see the world through the eyes of a 15-year-old boy. That I thought.
Well, until then, one of them was, listen, tell me what you're planning on calling your kid, and I'll give you every variation of shitty nickname that people will come up with, and then you can decide if you want to do it. I think that's a good service, and I'm still prepared to offer that. Anyone
Seriously,
listening,
build a website, man. Build a website. Yeah. Listener, if you're naming a kid soon, send your names into Rod and see what he can do with it.
I will fuck with it. I will squeeze it for every kind of critical, horrible thing that can be said.
If it's a family name that you have to use, then probably don't do that. Like, do it if you're open to change, but not if you're not.
If you want to know how horrible the thing is you can't avoid, don't. So let's end on a quizzy poo.
Give me a quiz.
So there's going to be a mix of things. One is, what do you think the word means? And the other is, which country uses this? But I will use the English translations. Are you ready?
I am as ready as I'm ever going to be.
The first one, what does it mean? Snails.
Snails.
as a cuss word, exasperation.
It's something to do with shitting, and it's from Belgium.
So no, it's a shortening of by God's nails.
Oh, come on.
I'm serious, like Gadzooks, or Zounds, which is all shorts for God's wounds, God's hooks, etc. Struth is God's truth. Yeah. So snails is apparently God's nails. So very English.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay.
I know. I'm going to say snails. You're like, okay, he's got Tourette's again, and or the Alzheimer's. Okay, what's a beard splitter?
Beard splitter.
Come on.
It's a
Victorian word, if that helps.
It's a pulley that you use in the Navy for pulling ropes over.
I can't believe you knew that. I put that in to trick you.
Also known as a cunt splice.
You're very close. Yeah, dick.
No, okay, all right.
It's a dick. It's a penis.
Well, okay. What I was going with is there is a pulley. There is a pulley in the Navy called like old school sailing Navy, the cunt splice. A dick. There you go. A beard splitter. Thank you.
A beard splitter. And what I like about that is it's both hetero and homo, because beards can be on many parts of the body. So it's not actually sexist.
What?
Okay, what country is this one from? It's a translation. I shit in the milk. Also variously used as I shit in your mother, I shit in the womb that gave birth to you, and other such phrases. What country?
Russia?
Spain. Me cago en la leche. I shit in your milk, or in the milk, and
shit in your milk.
I shit in your mother is one of the variations.
I get how they've leveled up there, because shitting in the milk, it's like, okay, I'm tipping that out, but shitting in your mother, that's a very specific act.
But these hot-blooded Mediterranean / romance cultures are very big on you don't mess with the mama.
I understand that there is a romance tradition there,
Yes.
but I get leveling it up from I shit in your milk. Sitting outside, the milkman dropped it off. I shat in there.
Yeah, but I'm going to shit in your mum. Even the effort. There are a lot of logistics.
I don't think that swearing has to be applied to a logistical test.
Okay, sard.
Sard. S-A-D-E?
S-A-R-D, sard.
Sard, like sard wonder powder. Germany, and it means to it's a slow wank.
A gentle, loving caress. No, it's medieval, basically for fuck.
Oh, okay.
Medieval English, 10th century English translation of the Bible contained the immortal phrase, "Don't sard another man's wife."
Strange that that word has literally disappeared.
Yeah.
I've never heard that, and I would have thought that swear words, medieval English, that they'd at least hold on a little bit.
Many did. I think maybe also, though, and this is another thing I didn't get into, but back to the sounds of words, it's very rare, at least in English, that a strong, potent swear word is round and cuddly. Like sard is also it's very soft.
Yeah.
Whereas cock
Where if
is
you're
hard.
saying suck with a K on the end might be different. But
Very
yeah,
different.
I'm surprised that disappeared.
It appears to. Rantalian.
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 Look, it's a French word for having sex with a knight while he is in armor.
Ooh. Keep going.
I don't know anymore.
It's not the word, but I want to hear what you got to say.
Well, he's on a horse, obviously, and it's very tricky to get to the various appendages. But,
The various appendages.
but one can do it.
Well, maybe if the knight was also this, it's a, quote, weirdly specific Victorian word meaning one whose scrotum is longer than his penis. You Rantalian. How dare you?
How many times do you need to use that? I mean, I get, your balls are longer than your dick, mate. I get that there is an
But
insult
also, at
there.
what point are you a shower or a grower, and in what phase are you? Because I mean, I don't take it personally. Just saying. Okay, what country is this from? It's going to take a moment to clarify the details. Cow vagina, or translated literally cow cunt, but actually apparently means in essence fucking awesome.
Look, okay, this I've the only way I can do this is punching up, because I swear, fucking awesome and cow vagina, and if I guess a country, there's many chances for racism here. So what I'm going to do is guess, obviously, Germany.
Yes, China. Apparently, it's not uncommon to hear literally Chinese chaps in particular say to each other, "You are very cow," or "cow cunt," etc., because it means like you're the shit.
Cool.
I think that's wild.
Cool.
I know.
I hadn't thought to say that. I mean,
it's a big deal. Like to me, I've got to really work on my lack of cultural understanding there to work out how being called a cow cunt means you rock.
I don't know. Wow. I'm trying to understand biologically where that comes from. Not biologically, like sociologically. Like, is it farming cultures that loves that are big on obviously cattle and cattle giving birth? They're like, yep, that's a big part of our economy. We love that. And maybe also there is a weird blend of having sex with the cows. I don't know.
You had to make it weird.
I didn't.
Until then, it was perfectly fine.
I
But I can imagine actually does not your weird pervy version, you Marquis de Grant, but the idea that a fecund cow would be of great value.
Oh,
and
totally,
utility.
totally.
And you can't fecund without a fecund. That's how it happens. What about scumber?
Scumber, that's a Navy term for the broom, the broom that you use to sweep the decks. I don't know if it's even a swear word, but
you give it to Seaman Staines. No, it means shit.
Scumber,
apparently. And what about biscumber?
You've shut your pants.
Yeah, actually, apparently it's to spray poo upon. to spray shit.
You've bescumbered me.
Yes, exactly. I've been bescumbered. I got a couple more for you. I mean, this one I really enjoy. Smell fungus.
Well, other than smelling fungus,
I know.
I got nothing here. Like the word's in the title.
You would call someone that you are or he is nothing but a smell fungus.
It's a New Zealand term for.
It's apparently it was made up by for a book, Tristram Shandy, which was written by Lawrence Stern. Now, Tristram Shandy came up a lot. Apparently, it's famous. I don't know much about it, but I didn't read stuff. It refers to a man he'd met who complained about all the wonderful places he'd traveled to. So it's someone who basically bitches out all the great things, the travels they've done.
Ah,
So it
you're a
went on to
smell
mean-
fungus. Oh, okay. No, okay.
Yeah, you're a
I
smell
get-
fungus.
I
Yeah.
get it. It's someone who they've gone to the Sydney Opera House or the Leaning Tower of Pisa or the Taj Mahal, and they've gone yeah.
I
but
didn't
is
like
it-
the color of the
Yeah,
stairs.
it wasn't. I've seen better Mahals.
Yeah, exactly. The Taj. What about the Grand Mahal? Have you been there? That's way better. I haven't been there yet, but I'm sure I wouldn't like it if I did. Smelled like cabbage. That's not cool.
I don't like those people. Actually, no. We had friends that.
Smell fungi.
Oh no, we were in Rome at the same time as them, and they went to the Vatican the day before us, and they were like, "Oh, it's not that impressive," and I'm like, "Fucking hell."
What drugs are they on?
Like, what are you talking about, you smell funguses?
Yeah,
Like,
compared to what? Not that impressive compared to the
You
Milky
build a
Way.
bigger cathedral. Like, come on. Like, you don't have to be a believer to be impressed by that kind of stuff. Like,
If I'm looking at Jupiter and I'm looking at the Vatican, I'm like, okay, Jupiter's bigger and kind of more complicated.
humans didn't build it,
maybe
though.
not. No, they
I
didn't.
just
you
think,
don't know that.
what do you want? What do you want to be impressed by, you stupid smell fungus? I'm going to use
Exactly. I
that.
think smell fungus is a great word. Gamma huche, gamma hutch, gamma huch, GAMAHUCHE.
So that's a word that just comes in IT circles
Yes.
to describe a particular thing that happens when your hard drive needs defragging or something like that.
Yes, defrag. It's a Victorian word for oral sex.
Oh, Yamahuche.
Excuse me, Tristram, would you mind gamma huching this evening? It wasn't specific about who is the giver and receiver.
To be honest, it sounds like a word that was only ever used once. Like it
really does.
It's too complicated. That's something that some Victorian schoolboys made up, like as their special word. And
Well, if they're not make up sex words, it's Victorian schoolboys.
look, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt
In
it.
their defense.
But no one actually used that out loud.
I can't imagine because I still don't know how to say it. It certainly doesn't read like an old English word. Gamma huche. Anyway, final one. Country of origin. This is such a good insult. Translation in English is "Go make yourself ejaculate."
You can make yourself ejaculate. Look, that is French.
It is French.
Yeah,
You won. You end on a winner. Va te faire foutre.
Va te faire foutre.
Yeah.
Go make yourself ejaculate.
Go climax. I mean, I think that's a great one.
Hey.
Like wank off.
Look, it's basically wank off. Go have a wank. Oh my
And
God.
look, that's a small list, and it's no surprise that so many of them are related to sex, and by so many I mean almost all. Sex or God or some kind of notion of religion and sacred.
Well, I'm very happy. I'm very happy with many aspects of that, but I have to tell you, I'm very happy with smell fungus. I have long there's a couple of things that happen in society that I've wanted words to describe.
You have one.
But people who are not impressed by stuff that's impressive, you're a smell fungus.
The Society of Smell Fungi. So yeah, I mean, look, that's literally a whirlwind tour through swearing too. I mean, there's so much to be said. I think it's fascinating. I think it's such an interesting, like the way we think about the world, the way cultures swear,
Yeah.
the way different subcultures swear,
And
reveals
animals.
so much about how we think about the world. It's amazing. So yes, as I said, I'm amazed I hadn't done this before.
I am amazed too.
Maybe there'll be more.
So, the Wholesome Show is me, Will Grant, and him, Rod Lamberts. It's brought to you by the Australian National Centre for the Public Awareness of Science
And anti-smell fungi.
and anti-smell fungi. See you next week, listener.